everybody. Let's go Niners. My name is Jason Aponte. What's up, 49er fans? Jason Aponte here, call-in show for the Spicy Squad. And anybody who wants to join and really talk, you can send your comments in right here on the questions. And if you are new here, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell for when we go live. A lot of things to talk about outside of the stuff that doesn't bear talking about. But I'm here so we can talk about whatever it is that you guys want to talk about at this point. So real quick to catch people up on a little bit of stuff that's been going on. Apparently in 49ers world, Deebo Samuel refollowed the 49ers, which means, hooray, throw a parade, he's going to be back. No, that's not what that means at all. It just means that all of that stuff that was going on in terms of overreactions is now kind of silly when you look back at it now at this point. Shout out to Brian, man. Shout out to everybody who has joined and who wants to call in and talk about anything. We can talk about whatever it is that you want. Draft picks, what's going to happen going forward at training camp, a lot of the other things that is on your mind, whatever it is that you guys want to talk about. You guys want to come on, talk about the new Batman movie, whatever it is, I'm with it as well, too. Shout out to Lobby in here as well. Luis, what's going on? So I guess the first place that I want to start is the schedule comes out on Thursday, and we're going to find out the full slate of games. The opponents and the home opponents and the away opponents have already been set. So what are the 49ers going to do in terms of records? And we can give premature answers and things like that, especially considering that we don't know what the starting lineup is going to look like, who's going to be starting where, things like that. But at the same time, it's a fun exercise. I think it's a fun time of the year. The 49ers already have announced that they will be playing in Mexico City as the away team in Mexico City. Really hyped for that matchup as well, too. Can't wait to get out there and meet a bunch of 49ers fans from south of the border and connect with any 49er fans that are going to be there from across the country and all over the world at this point. Jesse, no Doctor Strange spoilers. Haven't seen it yet. Haven't seen it either yet as well. So we will stay away from that as well. And please, this is a spoiler-free zone when it comes to that as well. So today, not really too much going on with the 49ers. Just a bunch of people that have been giving their opinions about Trey Lance for whatever reason. And it feels like because the Deebo Samuel news has kind of died down, now all of a sudden the emphasis has shifted to people who want to trash on Trey Lance. And it's kind of funny how that happens. Once one thing goes away, now you need to find another thing to focus on. And the best part is the national media really knows how to pick on things to get people riled up. And that's to pick on the 49er fan base one way or the other, whether it's Deebo Samuel, whether it's the quarterback situation, whether it's something going on in the front office. Driving clicks to the 49ers is the national media's way. And it's really funny to see it play out. Once one thing goes away, they just move to another thing. And for me, it's really weird to hear people say, well, the coaching staff said this when you've heard nothing but glowing assessments from people who are really tapped in. Jay Glazer comes to mind. Jay Glazer said that there were plays that were wow, and the offense was wowed by it. You hear his own teammates, and they say it was hard to keep up with him on defense. And I was at training camp myself, and the kid was making plays like that. So it's hard for me to understand where people are getting this. Well, he's not progressing. Again, my thing is you're not at practice. Nobody's really at practice at these points. So how do you know what's going on? Bryant brings up, does Jimmy G have a Patriots baby? That is actually a really, really interesting story. I mean, look, we're going to keep it light. Normally, I try to keep it about things that are tangible, things that we can actually discuss that have to go on and things like that. But this is an interesting story. So a story leaks that there was some sort of incident between Jimmy Garoppolo and Robert Kraft's then girlfriend, which led to her having a baby. Now, the only thing that's actually true is that Robert Kraft's girlfriend actually had a baby, and Robert Kraft admitted that he's not the father. Now, whether that means Jimmy is the father, I don't know. But it's really fun to talk about, especially when we're all arguing about whether Jimmy's going to be on this roster or not. It's kind of funny to hear this come out, especially when you can trace back that there is a kid out there that is not Robert Kraft's kid. So Slick says 49ers don't leak. I 100%. Rude Boy says thank you. And I guess that has to do with, the whole idea of people just jumping from Deebo right to Trey Lance and just trying to find ways to drive clicks and they know that the best fan base to rile up are the 49ers. It's like shaking a hornet's nest. And if it's not one thing that they're focused on, it's the other. So Sleepy One says Kraft was getting too busy down at the massage parlor. Oh, man, this is going to be a fun episode. I can see already. Rube says they're preying on Lance's downfall before he even gets a chance. Yeah, and I feel like, again, it goes back to the point, and I've said it many times, whether it be on here or on other people's podcasts, people are still so stuck in their ways that they want to be right. And instead of understanding that you need to be able to change your opinion when you see things, it's more about, hey, I was right. I had it from the outset. Not going to talk about the person that continues to trash him on Twitter that we all know. But yeah, people are so dug in on their stance that they cannot see the difference when they see new information. So it's less about them actually trashing him and more about, I have to stick to my guns because I want to be right. And they're going to be wrong. That's the best part. Just keep your receipts and we'll pull them out on all these people as well too. Especially it was funny with that Mike Lombardo thing. I believe that's his name. He praised Trey Lance. So here's the reason that kind of got me upset and why I had to pull that receipt on him where he said, oh, he looks great running the ball. And then he says, well, I've been hearing that he's underwhelming. He could have said, I've been hearing he's underwhelming, but I have this glowing assessment of him and I don't necessarily believe it. For him to just put that out there, it implies that he believes it. And also he knows exactly what he's doing, driving engagement. So when everybody goes after him and everyone says, well, that was his opinion of him and this is what he's hearing, he could have easily stomped that out and said, this is what I'm hearing, but I don't believe it because of my own eyes. So many of these guys are just bypassing what they've actually seen or what they believe to drive clicks to something that they know will drive engagement. And I think that's the bothersome part. I could say in one breath that I like this player and I've heard other things, but still stomp that out and say, I still believe my own eyes and I still believe that he's going to be fine. So, Ariel, where did you get that hat? I'll, you know what? Hit me up on Twitter and I'll send it. I can't promote it, man, because they're making too much money off me, man. Everybody's always asking where they get my hats and they haven't cut the check. I can't keep doing that, man. Spy Nick's right, man. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, join the Spicy Squad. I'll give you guys some time. Call in. Let's talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. I'm here. I'm having a glass of wine, just hanging out. Today's going to be a fun, loose episode. We'll talk about whatever it is that you want. You guys, shout out to everybody that's in the chat. Shout out to everybody that's watching. Really appreciate it, especially on this Friday. It's raining here on the East Coast, so there's no Yankee baseball for me to watch as well, too. So this is good for me as well, too. So DeAndre says, too much haterade, 100%. Vader Joe says, Trey's a competitor. Let these hacks throw all the shade. He'll prove them wrong soon enough. Yeah, that's what I hope Trey's doing. I really hope Trey's just sitting there writing things down and just getting back to it and just working because it should be fueling him at the same point. I had a chance to talk with Malik Willis before the draft, and I posted the interview, and I asked him, hey, I know during draft season you hear all the people talking about negatives and things like that, and does that fuel you in any way on top of you already being confident? He basically said, I'll be chilling, bro. He's like, hey, most of the time people just need to say stuff, and most of the time they're wrong. He's like, there's nothing you could do, so there's nothing you could do about it, and you can't let it get under your skin. Malik had a very good answer, and I hope that Trey's there as well, too. Malik's a very, very confident and smart young man, and I hope that Trey is taking that same sort of stance at this point because it is just noise at this point. It really is just noise. So Spiny Danger says, we saw Lance play, relax, the kid can play. He practiced with second team all year. Lance will shine with our starters 100%. Sleepy One says, the way I see it, the 49ers hedged their best last year, keeping Trey Lance and Jimmy. Maybe they still are, but at some point, they got to decide, is Trey Lance the guy or not? If not, they need to look for a new QB. I think they have decided. And this is a good discussion right here. Kyle Shanahan spoke at the coaches meeting. Oh, no, the owners meeting, I'm sorry, in Florida. And he said, yeah, we're very confident in Trey. That's why we've been looking to trade Jimmy. That was all I needed to hear. I don't need to hear anymore. And I don't need to know where they're leaning. Also, when you look at the way that they're constructing these draft picks and putting them on, it feels like a shift towards Trey Lance. So I'm not necessarily as worried as everybody else. Is there a chance that Jimmy Garoppolo is on this roster going into training camp? Sure. Is it likely? No, not in my opinion. And it already feels like they're prepping everybody for the shift to Trey Lance. So it's not even necessarily reading between the lines. I am quoting Kyle Shanahan directly. The only thing that makes people nervous is they say, well, you just don't cut players like that. And then the discussion becomes, well, what do you do with Jimmy Garoppolo? And can you sell to the team that you're not going to start Jimmy Garoppolo over Trey Lance? I don't think it gets there, but I think that's the part that gets people a little bit nervous. But if you just listen to what they've been saying, they've been telling you what they're going to do. And that is the part that I keep hanging my hat on and I keep going back to because I'm not reading between the lines. These are their words. And I'm not parsing or, cracking the code or, tinfoil hat. These are direct quotes. And I think you should go with that as well, too. Sin, shout out to her. I refuse to follow him or give him any clicks. I know exactly what you're talking about. You're absolutely right. Usoft, bro. What's up, Apante? What's up, Usoft, bro? Hello, Kitty in the building. Emiliano O. I've been hearing seems super high schooly more than legit journalism for sure. Uncle Salty, what about the Salty Squad? Salty, where were you in Vegas, bro? I thought we were supposed to link up, man. I was really disappointed, man. We got to figure out a way to finally hang out. If it's going to be at a Niners game, let me know. But home opener, I've got that circled as the time that I'm going to be out there as well, too. Exactly. Missed you in Vegas. But haven't seen or heard a response from Trey, which is good. Just letting all this stuff roll off his tattooed back and getting to work. Exactly. That's what I want to hear. I don't necessarily need to hear him coming out in defense. When you hear George Kittle talk about him, when you hear Mohamed Sanu talk about him in the I Am Athlete podcast and other things, the team has his back. I think that right now this is all just driving clicks at the same time. But Eric, I'm driving, but I'll try to call in when I get home. Eric, you get home and you call in because I'm dying to talk to you about draft picks. I know you've got some great takes and you're always dialed into the draft, so I can't wait to talk to you. Everybody else, if you guys are looking to call in, 1, make sure you're joined to the Spicy Squad. 2, make sure you check that community tab because that is where the link is. So you can click that and jump in and we can talk about whatever it is that you want. I have only allowed the people who have joined the squad to call in. So make sure you've done that. Eric is one of our members as well, too. Hendrick says, don't recall when we've been talked about this much in an offseason. Every reporter seems to know what's going on inside all of a sudden. Yeah, it's this and last year. Last year was the Mac at 3 stuff. Everybody knew, Schefter, this guy, everything's Mac at 3. It was everybody kind of speculating. Again, I really believe that after what happened last year and how much engagement they got on the Mac at 3 stuff and how 49er fans are so engaged in terms of social media and in terms of just comment sections and such, that this has been their go-to at this point. And now the discussion has shifted from Mac to 3. Well, what if Jimmy starts? And these are like the way that they're like leading off segments and First Take and all these other shows and these journalists and these journalists, these analysts, these talking heads, they all know what they're doing when they're doing this. And they've got us talking about it right now. 12 minutes in and we've been talking about nothing but what people feel they heard or things like that. So no one says, Apante, I heard Jimmy got Kraft's girlfriend pregnant and that's why he got traded. Yeah, we kind of talked about that. It's kind of funny how that works out in terms of the timeline because Kraft's girlfriend did have a baby and Kraft openly admitted, it's not my son. I'm going to take care of him. Or it's not my daughter. I'm going to take care of her. And that's all I want to say about that. That is actually true. Whether it's Jimmy's or not is who knows. But it's really funny to talk about. I thought that was hilarious when it came across. So they said, damn, Jimmy paying child support. 91649. That hat is looking cool, though. Appreciate you, bro. Uncle Salty says, Niners are not hedging their best. Jimmy G just put a wrench in their plans by getting the shoulder surgery. I'm sure Jimmy is gone before training camp. That's where I'm at, I think, at this point. That's really where I'm at. And again, in terms of possibilities and range of outcome, it's in there, but it's not likely, in my opinion. So we'll find out. Yo, how's it, y'all? Wolf, what's up? Mariah, what's going on, Mariah? Make sure you guys are subbed to her channel as well. She does a great job. Shout out to Mariah. Shout out to all the other content creators who are grinding their way through all of the social media stuff, the Jimmy Garoppolo stuff, the Trey Lance is ready stuff. Everybody's doing such a great job. Mariah's one of them. Make sure you sub to her channel as well, too. So Salty said he was all over. Yeah, I bet, man. Everybody was all over in Vegas. But hey, next time we'll make it happen at the home opener or whatever game it is that you make it to. Maybe I'll see you in Mexico City, something like that. So Paul says, does anybody keep track of when somebody that just clickbait is right and when they're wrong? Scoreboard would be fun. That's why it's important for us fans, to keep the receipts. Make sure we keep these guys in line, right? Like that's what I did with Lombardo. When he said all that stuff about I've heard, and then I pulled up his scouting report. It's like, dude, you could have said, I heard this, but I don't believe it because of how high I was on him and the things I saw. No, you didn't do that because you knew what was going to drive engagement. You knew that it was going to rile people up. So you deserve all of that. You deserve all of that. So for people that were coming at me saying, well, that was his opinion on him and this is what he's hearing, he can easily switch that and put that in there as well too, to say, this is what I've heard, but I don't believe it. It's stand on what you say, show some conviction, and stop throwing things out there that you know will drive engagement. It's so incredible. Everybody gives us shit when it comes to being a podcaster on YouTube and how we clickbait and we bring. Nobody talks about the national people that do this for a living. It's literally the same exact thing, but because we're not verified, we're not national journalists, we get the brunt of it. Those guys get it for maybe 1 or 2 days, and then nobody ever talks about it ever again. So it's really up to you guys to keep track of that and let them know, hey, we see you doing the same thing as well. There's many content creators that do a great job that just really report what's going on and maybe just give their opinion. They're not clickbaiting. They're not the ones starting this. The reason that content creators have something to talk about is because of these clickbait national journalists. And I think that's the part that people miss. So for as much as they say, well, you're just clickbaiting, they're giving us the clickbait and we have to respond to it because it's the offseason. There's not much to talk about. Now, thank God the NFL draft happened and we have actual football to talk about. We have actual analysis to give because there's draft picks to talk about. But at the same time, don't give us shit. It's not us, it's them, and we're responding to it. We here at this channel, me, myself, Andrew, Sprint Red Option Podcast, we try not to dive into that. I hope you guys got a chance to check out yesterday's episode with Dr. Penja, who gave us a ton of information, none of which had to do any of Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo, Deebo Samuel, none of that. You know why? Because there is a way to put out content without addressing any of that and actually giving out good information. I implore you guys to check that out. It was an informative episode. The doc was gracious enough to give us a bunch of his time. He's a very nice and smart guy, and I had a blast on that episode. I was very proud of Andrew and I for not getting caught up in talking about, well, Trey Lance is underwhelming and, well, Deebo refollowed the Niners. All that stuff can be talked about. But at the same time, where's the integrity? Where is your actual content? And that's what makes me proud of what Andrew and I did yesterday. So let's keep going. Imagine how much better this team will get when we can spend Jimmy's $25 million salary on other players. And I feel like they've done a good job. I know that a lot of people want splashy names, but I feel like they've done a good job. Right now, this cornerback room is the deepest that it's ever been under Shanahan and Lynch. And I think that's great especially when you talk about the pass rush that's going to be coming. You add in Drake Johnson, you add in Teray, you add in Jordan Willis is there, and why am I forgetting his name? Kerry Hyder's there. Greenway, I believe, from the Eagles. This line is going to be, after the quarterback, and now you've got pass rush. I mean, you've got pass rush and you've got coverage on the back end. It's the first time the 49ers have actually married the two. Once they figure out that strong safety spot or whatever it is, that second safety spot, because it's not strong safety, free safety, they flip back and forth. I think that this is going to be a top 3 defense again, but this time, if the pass rush isn't getting there, they've got the coverage to take care of it. So 49ers code, where'd you get that hat? It's hard. Hit me up on Twitter, man. I'll let you know. Again, they haven't cut the check. I'm not giving them any more, no more free promo. No more free promo for them. So let me know, man. Hendricks, what's the second most famous? We're the second most famous team behind the Dallas Cowgirls. Yeah, I hear that. Ariel Bronx in the house with the Niners. Yep, absolutely. And also, by the way, one of your draft picks, I forget how you say his name. The center, Nick Zarzid, I believe it is. He's from Fordham, and Fordham is in the Bronx as well. Chase Edmonds also went there as well, too. So shout out to Nick. I'm rooting for him just for that. Absolutely. Shout out to you, Mariah. Absolutely. Uncle Salty, I met Mariah in Vegas. Where were you, Jason? Unfortunately, in the media room, couldn't pass up an opportunity like that to be credentialed for the media during the draft, being able to talk to all the players, being able to, Todd Gurley walks into the media room and things like that. I could not pass up that opportunity, unfortunately. So I am regretful that I was not able to meet up with you guys, but I could not pass up on this opportunity to meet players and speak to the first round picks and be in that media room and see so many people that have contributed in media that I respect, that I look up to. And it was just a dream of mine, as a kid, to be media credentialed and a journalist for a day, and I just couldn't pass it up. So apologies, and I hope you guys had fun. It looked like a lot of fun. I know a lot of you got to meet Elijah and Fred. That looked like a blast. So shout out to you guys, and I hope you had a blast. So let's see. Lots of TDP opinions out there. What are some of the things you like? I don't think maybe explain that a little bit more, and I'll get to it. Let's see. Do you think TDP will have an impact? Oh, TDP. Okay. First of all, Tyrion, Game of Thrones name, hyphenated name. I like it. No, it's clear that this pick is polarizing for a lot of people, right? And I believe that the issue that people have is not the player, they have the pick. It's where it was taken. But you have to know that Kyle Shanahan does not care about what we think about picks. Joe Williams, Trey Sermon. If they got a guy that they like, they're going to take him at this point. Now, let's hope that he breaks the mold of those guys. But I think he does. And I think that a lot of this pick has to do with, one, he has sneaky bursts that I think people don't understand. Two, he's profiles more like a workhorse back. I know Elijah Mitchell was the workhorse, but he was injured 3 times. 3. How much of this has to do with pitching Debo like, hey, we don't need you to run the ball as much anymore. We've got a workhorse. We've got our guys. We've got a stable of backs now. I believe all 3 are in play at this point. I love his burst. I love how he finishes, runs. He went to LSU, for God's sakes. It's not like they picked a running back from, who's it university. So he's played against great competition. So I don't necessarily have a problem with the player. I think that a lot of people just have a problem with the pick because there's a 4th or 5th round grade. But at the same time, you have to keep that same energy because there were so many people that wanted Donovan West and he went undrafted. So because Donovan West went undrafted and you were able to sign him, does that make it okay? If both players pan out, you're not going to care where they were drafted. So it's less about draft a position and more about will they pan out. And I think that is what you really should be focused on. So let's see. Yusuf Pro says, do you think TDP will have more of an impact this year compared to Danny Gray? I think Danny Gray is going to slide in situationally with Jauan Jennings as that third receiver in the slot. Look, we all know Jauan Jennings was clutch down last year. I mean, bigger Kendrick Bourne, big on third down, big in the red zone, right? But they still need Danny Gray to take the top off of defenses and lighten those boxes. And again, this is where I kind of get back to Danny Gray feels like a shift towards Trey Lance because of how he plays, Trey Lance's ability to get the ball downfield, and also being able to lighten the box. Not that Jimmy Garoppolo wouldn't work with Danny Gray. It's just you would have to change the way you use Danny Gray. Now, you can use Danny Gray to clear routes out for Ayuk and Debo. And I would point to the beginning of the year when Debo Samuel was cooking and Brandon Ayuk was in the doghouse or he was injured, whatever it is that you want to call it. If you watch that Detroit game, there were many times that Ayuk was clearing out for Debo, just running and taking 2 guys with him so Debo could run his drift route over the middle of the field. I have a sneaky suspicion that Danny Gray will actually be utilized in that way and be more of a situational guy. Now, will that develop into an every down role? We'll have to see. Depends on his progression. I like his chances. But as of right now, you have a good thing with Jauan Jennings. You have a really good thing with Danny Gray. And I think they both can coexist without stepping on each other's toes. And I think that the 49ers will utilize them that way as well, too. Luis says, that's why I'm here, Jason. You're legit. Appreciate you, bro. F the clickbait. Call them out. Heard you guys. Let's see. Jesse said that was a good show yesterday. Yeah, I implore you guys to check that out, man. The doc was so good with his time. Super informative. Gave us a timetable on Mike McGlinchey, what we should expect. Also, I wrote about it on 49ers Goldmine, so check that out as well, too, if you haven't. Was able to take some of those quotes and write an article around it. That's how much information was given. Promise you guys, it was a really great show. One of my favorites since we've been doing this as well, too. So, Brian says, media is shifting towards streaming services like YouTube. People want to choose who they listen to. Absolutely. That's another thing, right? Everybody always wants to give crap to Grant and all that stuff. Look at all of the people now that are even not just national guys, your own 49ers guys that have YouTube shows now, right? And right now we've almost got 100 people in here. Not sure what you're here for at this point. I mean, if you're going to call in, awesome. But at the same time, you have to find a way to drive people to your show. So how do you do that? Do you do it with clickbait or do you just try to give as much content as possible? Yesterday's show that Andrew and I did, we knew full well that that wasn't going to be one of our largely watched shows. And it's not. It is not. Andrew and I are usually clear 1,000 if we're talking about Debo or Jimmy or anything like that within a day. 1,000 hasn't been cleared yet. But I don't care because I felt that yesterday's content was very valuable, especially because nobody's talking about the things that are actually tangible, like can Mike McGlinchey come back and be effective next year? What's going on with Javon Kinlaw? How has this team combated injuries? There were so many good questions and nuggets, and the doc was so good with his time. So a lot of people have to figure out, how do you drive your content? And I'm not knocking anybody, right? I'm not knocking anyone, however it is that you drive your clicks, right? There's a space and there's a lane for everyone. That's what makes this beautiful. A lot of people would say that YouTube's oversaturated. I would say it's a beautiful time because everyone gets to pick and choose what they like. And I think that is the part that people forget. If you like the hot take stuff, there's somebody for you. If you like the straight information stuff, there's somebody for you. If you like the entertainment stuff, there's somebody for you. That's what makes this beautiful. And everybody has a chance to coexist. Everybody has a chance to drive their audience. It depends on what it is that you like. But again, national reporters, even your own 49er writers, they're getting into YouTube now. So how do they drive it? It's up to you whether you want to subscribe to it and like it. But there is something for everybody. I will definitely say that. Let's see. Ariel says, what is your assessment of Donovan West or Jason Poe starting if Mac retires? Man, those are the two guys that I would have pegged for a center position if they don't move Daniel Brunskill over. Jason Poe is so interesting. It feels like Kyle Shanahan's toy, right? Fullback, maybe a Kyle Juszczyk replacement down the line. Guy who could play center. I felt like he's really good. He's high motor, short area quickness. He's good in being fluid and mirroring the pass rush as well, too. I think he's great at that. You've all seen the videos of him running. Did you know, here, I have it written down right here. Did you know that he was a 0-star recruit out of Fitzgerald High School in Georgia? He lettered in track and weightlifting. He set the record for lifting weights at his college per The Athletic, and 37 starts at right guard. I feel like it's going to be one of those two. But if you ask me, I think that Donovan West has a great chance at making the 53. And what I point to is not only the skill set, it's his contract. 10,000 up front and 100,000 guaranteed. That's not nothing for an undrafted free agent. There's going to be a lot of undrafted free agents, and unfortunately, actually really good players that were on the roster last year that are not going to make it. Not because they're not good, because this roster is so deep. And Donovan West, for me, he feels close to a lock to making the 53. Now, whether Donovan West is the move right away, we're going to find out in training camp, or whether they want to go with Daniel Brunskill. But the offensive line still has a lot of questions going forward. I like both of them. I see the vision with Jason Poe and absolutely see the vision with Donovan West. I have no idea why he felt. Brad Graham asked the same thing, and I don't have an answer for him. Nobody really does. So I love those two picks. And the undrafted free agent portion pushed the 49ers draft from a B to an A- for me because of who they were able to land and the potential of those guys having an impact down the line. Everybody wanted their guys. Donovan West was mocked in many, many mocks. And to get him as an undrafted free agent, it just goes to show that, one, this draft was actually really deep. And two, the 49ers do a great job with undrafted free agents. Emmanuel Mosley, Azeez Al-Shaair, a bunch of them. So for as much as we give them crap about missing, they get it right with undrafted free agents. And that is what I want to give them credit for as well, too. So, yep, here we go. And Salty saying the same exact thing, right? Yep. Hey, Mariah, let's see. What do we got here? I think TDP will take over the Debo role. I think so, too. A lot more of a workhorse at this point. 100% agree with that. What's going on, Wanda? Good to see you. Tyrion of House Price, runner of the pigskin. I love it. Game of Thrones references were in here. Let's go. Jay, what's good with the Spicy Squad ad? I can't seem to find the link or join button on the app and online. It's going to be, what you have to do is it's going to be on a desktop app. But if you go check out the tweet that I just bumped on my timeline, the link is right in there. You can click it. It's not the link to the video. It's the link to join. If anybody in the comment section can help and drop that in there for everybody, whoever wants to join, I would love to talk with any of you guys. So shout out to JC Montana. Hit the like for this East Coast legend. Appreciate you, bro. Danny Gray will also go over the middle and not just run deep routes. He just has to work on the drops. 30 minutes in. I can't believe I've been talking for this long. If you're here, like this video, sub the channel, hit the notification bell, join that Spicy Squad so you can call in. I'm going to be out here for a little bit so we can talk. I'm hoping that some of you guys have some time, but shout out to everybody that's in here. We've got over 100 people in here. I'm thankful that you guys are in here talking with me, and just give me a second. It's hard to talk and talk and talk. And then don't forget Ray Ray. Eric's always going to let me know about Ray Ray. You know what? When Ray Ray McLeod pops, you all got to go and say thank you to Eric because he was on it from the beginning. So Wanda says, I give crap to Grant because he's a clown. Oh, my goodness. I don't know why I read that out loud. Was Grant at the draft? No, he wasn't, unfortunately. He wasn't. So Sin says, I keep saying Grant is a marketing master as well, too. Let's see. Shanny's happy. Let's see what we got here. Is Sermon on the way out? Good question, Brian. I don't think so. I think that the guys that are on notice now are Jeff Wilson and JaMycal Hasty because they're on the back end. If you cut bait on Trey Sermon already, that is a huge indictment on your third-round pick. Look, Joe Williams didn't see the field because he was injured. But if Trey Sermon can't pick it up this year, especially with, I think, the 49ers shifting to a much more inside zone scheme, which would benefit him greatly, I think that he's not necessarily on the way out. I think that JaMycal Hasty and Jeff Wilson are on the clock at this point. So we're going to find out. There are backs out there, actually, that can be had that'll just be stable backs. You know, the guy that I've always thought that would fit was Justin Jackson. When you think about the Anthony Lynn acquisition and their connection, that makes a lot of sense, especially with the scheme. Not the fastest guy, but you just need a guy who can lighten the load for other guys as well, too. So Elijah doesn't get hurt, and you don't have to use Debo in that role. Debo will get carries. He's just not going to get 8, 9, 10 like he was at the end of the year. So I wouldn't say Sermon's on the way out, but JaMycal Hasty and Jeff Wilson, you got to watch your back now at this point. Jeff Wilson, I think we like him, and we like the angry running. Unfortunately, he was a little bit banged up. How much of that is going to carry over into this year? I'm not certain. But JaMycal Hasty and him feel like the guys that may lose out as well, too. Dave, thank you for the donation. Have you looked into Vontae Mack? I haven't, actually. So I want to normalize saying I don't know as opposed to making some stuff up on the fly. Dave, give me some time. I definitely will appreciate the donation, and I definitely will look into that so I can give my thoughts on him as well, too. So you need a laptop or desktop. Yes, absolutely. That's how you get in. You need to do it you have to go to the actual physical page on the laptop or a desktop, and you'll see the join button when you go to my subscribe page. It'll be there as well, too. So this is it right here. This is the one. Can I go on a little tangent real quick? Can you guys ride with me real quick on this one? Should we consider Julio Jones? You should absolutely consider Julio Jones. All right, we got a caller. Now let's talk about it with Bryant then. All right. Brian, what's up, buddy?
How are you tonight?
I'm great. What's going on? Thanks for calling in.
Well, yeah, I had a call in. You know, I got I like
I'm in the back. Look at that.
Yeah. So what do you think? You know, everybody was thinking they were going to draft a punter. Are you surprised they didn't?
I'm so glad you brought that up. I actually did want Matt Araiza, and not even ironically or anything like that. At the combine, Matt Araiza was punting the ball 70 yards, like on a fly. That's not something you find anywhere. So I know everybody knows, you know, my stance on that and everything, and everybody was making a joke. The funny part is I was telling people, yeah, I'm disappointed we didn't get Matt Araiza, you know, actually. And look, Mr. Snowski in the 4th, you could have had Matt Araiza in the 6th. And I think that's a much better value, especially when you talk about what he's done. But yeah, he's going to make the Buffalo Bills, I believe it was the Buffalo Bills who drafted him, very happy. Buffalo Bills had a sneaky good draft, actually, too. But when they added him, I was like, damn it. And I know that everybody jokes around and everything as well, too. I mean, I've already apologized to Robbie Gould. That's it. I'm done. I'm off him. He's the man. That's it. But yeah, I was a little disappointed that they didn't come around on the Razors. So I'll give you that. Let me ask you this, Bryant. The question down here from TC49er. Should we consider Julio Jones? What are your thoughts on that, Bryant?
Well, Kyle Shanahan knows him, and if we could get him cheap, then I don't see that being a problem. I don't know how long he would stay. You know, he could be injury, prone maybe mid-season because of his age, but he's got good hands. He knows like how Kyle wants to run the offense. But we got a lot of receivers right now, so if they think one of those guys is gonna lose out to Julio, then I would take a shot just to bring him in camp and see what goes on.
Absolutely. I'm with you. Lock and step. I mean, Julio Jones is my favorite player in football. And I haven't had my favorite player play for the 49ers since Terrell Owens. But let me just break it down from a roster standpoint. For me, there's 5 locks to make the team at wide receiver right now. Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Jauan Jennings, Ray McLeod, and Danny Gray. That's 5. You need more than that, right? For
you need
me,
6 and 7.
yeah, absolutely. And for me, a lot of people say, well, you already have Ayuk. For me, I don't think that Julio Jones really steps on Brandon Ayuk. In my opinion, Julio Jones would be the upgrade to Jauan Jennings. Situational, but he has to come on a cheap deal. He has to come on a cheap deal. You have to keep him healthy the whole year, right? Like you have to be able to work his snaps down and everything. But he would be in for Jauan Jennings, not necessarily taking over for Ayuk or Sam Deebo. And I think that's where a lot of people get lost here with this thought. PFF put out a graphic saying that was the perfect landing spot for him. I wholeheartedly agree, not selfishly because he's my favorite player, but because I can see him red zone threat, third down, guy who knows the system. Who wouldn't want to take a chance on Julio Jones? No disrespect to Jauan Jennings, but Julio Jones, even in his diminished state, would offer a slight upgrade there at that position, and you can still rotate Danny Gray in, who can play outside as well.
Yeah, you could definitely count on him, on third downs because he's got hands. So
Yep.
that would be a big deal. And you don't have to really rely on him going deep or doing a lot of crucial routes because we got the other guys to do that. I really want to see him use more like Juszczyk, and I want to see him use Kittle more. I like it when they use those guys, and like before we had Jimmy, they were using those guys a lot because that's all we had. We didn't have a bunch of wide receivers, and I'm really happy that Deebo stayed, or at this point. But I think that was really just a bunch of hype because I think Niners didn't want him to be talking about Jimmy, and I think that was the next best thing to be talking about is Deebo because everybody knows he's gonna get paid, and I know he knows he's gonna get paid too. And we pay people in, like right before training camp, everybody gets paid, right? And if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. I know a lot of people aren't gonna like this, but I really think Jimmy's gonna be on the team week 1.
Talk
And
about it.
I don't think it's good for it to happen like that, but I really think he might come in as the week 1 backup quarterback. He might come in. I might think they might put him on injured reserve just to keep him back there. And I don't know how the contract breaks down for him, but somebody had said, and I need to read into it before I talk too much on this, but somebody said if he's not the starter, he's not making $27 million playing for the 49ers.
I don't know
So
about
I don't know
that
how his contract
either. Yeah. So here's the thing too, and I know a lot of people are hung up on that number, right? Right. A lot of people are hung up on that number, right? And rightfully so. But I point to other quarterback rooms and how much they spend on their backup and their starter. Just because he could be a backup, that quarterback room is still relatively cheap compared to what other teams are paying their quarterbacks, right? Some teams are paying their quarterback 40 and they've got a backup, right? And that's clearing what this quarterback room is.
It sounds really bad on my side.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should hang up and call back in.
Hey, if you wanna hop out and then hop right back in, go for it. The link is up. You're the only one called in, Brian. So yeah, if you want to do that, you can hop right back in and I'll finish my thought and everything.
Well, we'll go ahead now because it's clear. So maybe I get hold of my phone differently.
So for me, it's more people talking about the money and everything. Okay, but it's $27 million for Jimmy, and it's like less than $3 million for Trey. That's $30 million. Some quarterbacks are getting $30 million off the bat, and then they have the backup. So relatively speaking, this quarterback room is cheap, even though they did draft a quarterback with Mr. Irrelevant. And also, I want to just throw this out there. I don't know if anybody's saying this, but Deebo Samuel extension is not being hung up with Jimmy Garoppolo because the cap number this year is not. It's not about this year. The extension will start next year. So that's the thing about this as well, too. The upfront money is the upfront money. I am not the best with the cap, so don't quote me on all those things, but I don't think that Jimmy's contract is impeding this extension as much as I've seen people speak about.
That's what I understand, too. I don't think his contract affects other people from getting paid. I think it's just the way the Niners do business, and I think he will get paid in the middle of the year. July, June, somewhere around there, maybe August. I think, honestly, Jimmy will be on the team. I think that's Kyle Shannon's security blanket. And for some reason, I think the Yorks really, really, really like Jimmy, and they're afraid to move off of him. They could just pay him $7.5 million and let him go. And for some reason, they're holding on to him, and they could have traded him in the beginning of the season. And for him to do his surgery, the way he did his surgery, he was advised the way to do it. it's really just is really suspect because they had a trade partner lined up for him, and then now they don't have one because of his injury. And it just, I really feel strongly that he's going to be on the team week 2. I think Trey should start. I think we should go all behind him, but I think for some reason the Niners organization will keep Jimmy.
Hey, look, it's there, and I mean, you hear the term "foot the bill" and all that stuff, and remember, Jed York said we're prepared for 2 years of this. Now, I don't know how far this goes along, and you could be absolutely right, Brian. You absolutely could be right, but I just feel like
I don't want to be right, but that's what I really feel like.
uh-huh. Hey, it's not a wrong sentiment at all. Again, it's in the realm of possibilities, in my opinion. For me, I don't know if it's likely. And I think that what the 49ers are waiting for is not, you don't ever pray for this, but there will be a team that, God forbid, their quarterback goes down. Now, all of a sudden, you need a quarterback. Or maybe they get to training camp and, there's guys that maybe you're relying on. Maybe the Panthers get to training camp. They realize Sam Darnold's not it, and they're not ready to go to Matt Corral. Now you've got to call the 49ers. And I think that's where the 49ers are. And now, is that foolish? Maybe, right? Because maybe you can just clear this money off and just go ahead and just rip the Band-Aid off. But I think the 49ers are kind of steadfast in getting something for Jimmy. Now, whether that is the 3rd-round comp pick that happens when he leaves and stays the whole year, which, fingers crossed, I hope doesn't happen, or it happens in a trade, I think the 49ers are dead set on trying to get the whatever it is that they feel for him as far as value. Lawrence, I wanted to address this real quick. I don't think I should follow a guy with a Cookie Monster shirt. It's a Cookie Monster Cause Uniqlo shirt. Cause is a street designer, so it's not, it is Sesame Street 100%, but it's a Cause, Kaws. I will look him up. He's a street artist. That's why I'm wearing it. So yeah, you can have some fun with my shirt though. But Brian, that Batman picture in the back, that's heat right there. I'm feeling that.
Every time I try to call in, I'm going to try to take a different picture in my room because I have a toy room and it's got a bunch of Batman stuff in it because I've told you before, I like Batman, the 49ers, and I love my family. That's the most important things in my life, so.
Hey, listen, nothing wrong with that. Actually sounds like a way to live. I mean, you see the vibes. I mean, Brian, I've watched the new Batman movie on HBO Max. I'm getting into the 20s. I'm getting up to the 20s. I mean, it's a movie that, like, when I'm cleaning up, maybe I'm getting eerily ready for bed, things like that, or maybe like I'm just sitting around. It's in the background. It's on in the background. Or if I'm checking the scores on a game that I bet on, it's on in the background. It's gonna leave HBO Max soon, so I've got to take advantage, right, Brian?
Oh man, it's awesome. I went to the movie theater. I took my daughter, like I told you. Then I went to, we got home, and a couple of weeks later, it came out on HBO Max. We've had it on at least, 2 or 3 times a week, since this came out. And I find every time I've watched it, I find something new about it. It's a good movie. It's not the best movie. I'm waiting for the Michael Keaton Batman movie to come out with the Flash, and he's supposed to come out with the Batgirl movie, but I don't know.
Well,
we
Brian,
can talk about Batman.
What are they going to do with Flash at this point? Flash is so problematic at this point. I mean, this guy, he can't stop getting in trouble. I mean, all he does is get arrested. Like, they have to make a move or something like that, right?
Yeah, hopefully Flashpoint, this movie comes out and they do something where they can change his actor or something. I don't know, but he's trouble right now. He's trouble.
That's pretty problematic.
Hey man, dude, thank you for letting me come in. And I'm gonna call in again your next show, and I'm gonna jump off real quick because I gotta tend to dad duties. But
yeah,
hey, keep doing the call-in show because I'll try to call in again next time, and I'll have a different kicker question for you because I was a kicker in high school, so that's more.
Oh, really, Brian? Then I'm done slandering kickers, man. If that was your thing, I'm sorry. I apologize, but I always appreciate you calling in, bro.
Hey, you just keep doing your thing because I love it, and I'll talk to you next time, man.
Appreciate you, Brian. Thanks a lot for tapping in, bro. Thank you. I appreciate you, man.
All right, and everybody else, call in, give this guy some support. All right.
Yeah, let's do it. Thank you, man. Brian's a good dude, man. That was a lot of fun. So yeah, anything else that you guys want to talk about? I guess just throw in some questions, things like that. 45 minutes in, didn't think that we would be getting here this quickly. So let's see if we got some good stuff in here. Let's see. Wanda's right. Selena was hot, man. Hey, Zoe Kravitz has me in a headlock when Wanda. I don't know. I mean, I can't get her out of my mind, man. Fake Spider-Man. Hey, Batman's overrated. Come on, man. Look, I got Spider-Man love up here, man. That's the other guy. That's the homie up there, right? See? There you go. There you go, right? And I got some guys down here, whatever. We show love to Spidey over here too. Um, good take, Brian. Yep. So I mean, a little bit more to Brian's point. It is possible that that is something that happens, right? Like again, Jed York said 2 years, and again, I think that he said that not expecting it to happen, but being able to fall back on that if anybody asked, well, what is he doing here? He can point back to that and say, well, I told you 2 years. So the Jimmy G thing is going to be something that we're going to keep an eye on. When we talked with the doc yesterday, and this is why I implore you guys to watch this episode. I asked him, I said, hey, or someone in the chat actually asked. I was going to ask, but the chat is, I've got the smartest viewers and the guys with the best questions, I promise you. Someone asked if this was Patrick Mahomes with that shoulder injury and couldn't throw, he'd be on the first plane out. And he wholeheartedly agreed and said, this sort of shoulder injury does not affect the top tier quarterbacks, but the middle tier and the bottom tier. And he pointed to Cam Newton, who wasn't necessarily accurate to begin with before he had a shoulder surgery. And then that accuracy even got worse. For a guy who relies on short field accuracy, precision at certain points, that's why teams are skeptical. It's because he's a middle tier guy. If it was a top tier guy, an Aaron Rodgers, a Josh Allen, a Patrick Mahomes, these are his words, they would be fine because that's not how they win. They win down the field, and that wouldn't affect that. In terms of first-year accuracy, a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo needs that accuracy, and that's why teams wouldn't necessarily trade for him without seeing him throw a football first. So that's the part. Everybody always wants to say that we're clowning Jimmy Garoppolo. It's not that. He is in that middle tier. But if it was him, Baker, Tannehill, Cousins, Derek Carr that had this same injury, multiple teams would be skeptical. So it's not about Jimmy more than the tier that he's in right now. So shout out to Wanda. Thank you for the donation. Appreciate you. Oh, let's go. Let's go. My boy. Eric, what's up, buddy?
Hey, what's up, Jay? AKA the drippiest dude in the game on 49ers Twitter right there, the drippiest dude, Jason Aponte.
My man, appreciate that. I try, man. I don't really get out too much. I'm always home, with the daughter, trying to grind the tape, whatever it is, clean the house, make sure that the family's good. But, when I get out, I step out, got to show a little something. What's up with you, Eric?
Hey, I'm feeling good. I'm excited. I get to chat with you on this call-in show. Hey, we need more people to join the Spicy Squad. Let's get these numbers up. So join. But hey, Jay, I wanted to talk to you about how I think this Jimmy Garoppolo saga is going to play out.
Go for it.
And I said this on Monday on my channel. And what was funny was Grant said something very similar on Wednesday. And so it's like both of us are thinking along similar lines. And obviously Jimmy's on the roster. The plan is they want to trade him, right? And I don't think anyone's going to come in with a deal to swoop up Jimmy G. He's overpaid at $27 million. He's mediocre. So obviously you want to try to trade him, but I don't think we're going to get an offer for him. So what you do is you hold him as long as possible, Jay. Hold him right up until week 1 or final cuts before his money's guaranteed, right? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but we can cut him right up until week 1.
Yep, right. But so it could be literally so it depends on when the week actually begins and when they consider week 1. So it's not like they could cut him Saturday before the Sunday game. It might just be that week right before there. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So here's what I do, Jay. I hold him, and eventually you say, hey, Jason, or excuse me, hey, Jimmy, Trey just beat you out. He played good in OTAs, training camp. This is Trey's job, and we can't pay you $27 million as a backup. So, Jimmy, why don't let's restructure. We'll cut that down to $12 million, which is still a really highly paid backup.
The highest paid backup.
That'd be the highest. I mean, I'm thinking 12, maybe 10, whatever they want to negotiate, right? And if Jimmy says no and turns it down, well, we cut him, right? We cut him, and I don't think at that point, right before week 1, everyone knows who their week 1 starter is. So I don't think the team's going to come in and pay him more than 10 or 12 mil, whatever we're willing to offer. because these teams already have their quarterback locked in. Jimmy would have to go and learn a playbook, which I think the quarterback position is probably the hardest one to learn a playbook for, right, in a shortened amount of time. So I think that's a way the 49ers can kind of have their cake and eat it too.
Yeah, I actually really agree with that. And also, again, too, I think the 49ers are waiting for another shoe to drop, right? Like, and again, I don't want to prey on anyone getting injured, but if let's say there's a playoff team or something like that that has their starting quarterback go down during training camp. So you can pivot to a guy that look, let's be honest. Jimmy Garoppolo is a baseline guy. He's not going to move the needle, but he won't drop the needle unless he's just playing poorly at that point. But I feel like he's baseline, and he can command your offense provided you don't give him too much on his plate. So I think that's another thing that they're kind of waiting for. But I really like this scenario as well, too. The only thing that I would say that I have a little bit pushback on, Eric, is I feel like Jimmy wants out. Like, I really feel like he wants out as well, too. And I think their team is kind of pushing them to release him so he can pick and choose where he wants to go. The only problem I have with that is, if everybody is still healthy, where do you go? Carolina? And what?
I mean, I was thinking, before the draft, I was thinking, you know what? Bill will call him up and bring him in to be Mac's backup. But they just drafted Zappe in the 4th round. So it's like that kind of throws the Patriots out the window. So I don't know.
Yeah. Again, I think that, again, two things can be true. I think the 49ers kind of overplayed their hand here. And then there were things that were unforeseen, the surgery, Deshaun Watson being cleared, how many guys actually got moved and took spots, Matt Ryan going to Indianapolis. Those sort of things are the things that the 49ers didn't see coming. But a lot of what happened has to do with them kind of thinking that they lived in a perfect world where things were just going to be fine and they were just going to get, the Steelers were going to come calling. Well, you know what? The Steelers are like, you know what? Why give up draft picks and we can roll with Mitch, and we just drafted Kenny Pickett. So who knows what Kenny Pickett's going to be, but they have a guy who can be steady, right? Like Mitch, at the combine, the quarterback that was spoken about the most at the combine was Mitchell Trubisky. I promise you, every single person that we spoke to, front office guy, GM, coach, for some reason, you would have thought that Mitchell Trubisky was going to be drafted. Everybody was like, hey, Mitch is coming, man. Mitch is looking good. I don't know what's going on. Is it a conspiracy to push up Mitchell Trubisky? I don't know. But the Steelers
He's got those tools. He's got those tools,
Right.
and coaches, they always feel like if you got the tools, you can coach them up. And then, Matt Nagy's his reputation's taken a big hit since he took over. So since he was the coach of the Bears, I mean, that offense was just always felt lackluster. Mm-hmm. So I think, people are looking at Trubisky and thinking Matt Nagy was the blame.
Right. Eric, what do you think about this? Jesse says Vegas or Houston. So Vegas, it would reunite him with McDaniels, and he would be behind Carr. But does Houston kick Davis Mills down and go, and then the Caserio thing with Houston as well too? So does Houston say, hey, we're going to start Jimmy Garoppolo and still keep Mills? But I'll tell you this, and this is coming from, you guys know, the biggest Justin Fields guy this side of the Mississippi. Davis Mills was the second best rookie quarterback last year. He was, and it's on tape, including everybody. And does Jimmy Garoppolo move the needle for Houston in any way? Like, if Jimmy Garoppolo comes in, do they all of a sudden become a playoff team, or do they maybe win one more game, 2 more games? Right?
I know. I know what you mean. Yeah, he's not moving that needle too much, between the talent level between Davis Mills and Jimmy Garoppolo. The only thing that kind of does make me think Houston has a shot is Lovie Smith. I mean, he's an OG. It feels like he might want to bring in a veteran because he knows coaching opportunities, they don't come around very, very often, and they potentially don't last very long.
Especially there, right? Like the last year, Cully and then this year, it feels like Cully and then Lovie Smith are set up to fail because for whatever reason, the Houston Texans want to give this job to Josh McCown. What is it about Josh McCown, and what is it that he's done that all of a sudden Houston sees him as the next head coach for them? I don't know, but I think that's a really good point about Lovie Smith. This is a results business. The difference between getting fired sometimes is you winning 3 games with Davis Mills, but you winning 6 and being competitive in more games with Jimmy Garoppolo and showing that you can elevate this roster a little bit. So that's a really good point, Eric. I really agree with that as well, too. So maybe Lovie Smith, Caserio, that sort of thing is what we're looking at this point. And maybe that makes Houston a destination. That's something that I hadn't really considered until right now. That's a really good point.
Thanks. And AJ, a couple of last thoughts I wanted to talk to you about. Well, when we're looking at Davis Price, right? Does he feel like a prototypical like outside zone guy in your opinion, or kind of he's a multi-dimensional running back where he could do some outside, but feels more like an inside runner? How do you feel about this running back Tyrion Davis Price and kind of where he excels running the ball?
I think that his skill set is a marriage with the wrinkles that are going to be added in with Anthony Lynn in the inside zone game. That's why I'm not ready to give up on Trey Sermon either as well, right? And I think that when you look at, I expect Trey Lance to start. When you look at Trey Lance, Anthony Lynn, and the linemen that they drafted. So let's say Aaron Banks is the starter, right? Like all of this stuff kind of lends itself to this new wrinkle. I don't necessarily think they can run outside with TDP. I think that they can run inside. And I think that he is there to be the bruiser and get those tough yards. He profiles for me as a closer. Like end of the game, you need to get a first down. You need to finish the game in between the tackles. You give it to him and he gets those tough yards that Debo was getting. So for me, I don't necessarily believe that he's going to fit as much with the outside zone. There's too many things pointing to a shift to a little bit more of a wrinkle with inside zone, especially considering that Anthony Lynn is there now as well too, and how successful he was with the running game in Buffalo, in LA with the Chargers as well too. So I wouldn't say outside zone. I just think that they needed somebody that can get those tough yards and not ask Debo to do that.
I feel you. I think our thoughts are lining up similarly because I'm expecting a lot of pistol. We did Jimmy would use the pistol occasionally, but going back when I was watching after we drafted Trey, I started going back to 2012 and watching RG3, Kyle Shanahan. I know it's a long time ago. The NFL's changed since then, but I was like, how did the Shanahans use a mobile quarterback?
Alfred Morris.
That's kind of Alfred Morris. But what I noticed when I went back and watched that, it was a ton of pistol. And what it is back then it was RG3. Now it would be Trey, who's kind of threatening the outside. And you got Alfred Morris is a thick, strong back, kind of similar to Davis Price, where, you know, he's going more up the gut. And Lance would be the one threatening the outside from the pistol. That's kind of what I'm anticipating the scheme to look like this upcoming year.
I love it. And I think the same goes for him and Trey Sermon. And I think that Elijah Mitchell still profiles as that guy that can run outside zone. Not exactly as fast as we all would have thought, but I think he does a great job as well, too. And I think the idea is to take more off of Elijah and Debo's plate because Elijah was good, but 3 times being injured in the season doesn't seem sustainable to just continue to give him that thing. And we all know that Debo is trying to last longer and trying to count his money for years and years and years. So you've got to make him happy as well, too, which I suspect he's going to be back. But I think that's a great point. I really believe that they're going to start running inside much more. Eric, as usual, you're on point, bro.
Hey, I'm going to get out of here with just giving you my last thoughts on the Drake Jackson and the Danny Gray pick, and then I'm out of here. Drake Jackson, I was really excited, Jason, when we drafted Drake Jackson. When we were on the clock, in fact, I had posted my reaction video, right, to the draft selection of Drake. And when we're on the clock, I'm like, hey, Drake Jackson's there. I really like this pass rusher out of USC. And I even had mentioned Danny Gray when we were on the clock there, but I was like, oh, you know what? It feels a little too early, round 2 for Danny Gray. But back to Jackson, this dude's got some moves. I know, 5.5 sacks his freshman year was his high, but he was misused at USC, right? They were changing these defenses. Is he a D end? Is he a linebacker? They're switching. They're dropping him into coverage, Jason. It's like, why the hell are you dropping this guy into coverage? Let him go get the quarterback. But when they did let him go after the quarterback, he's got moves. He's got great hands. When I'm watching these pass rushers, it's like the hand usage is almost the thing I'm looking for the most. That's what I put a premium on. Bosa's got those phenomenal hands. Arden Key had some sneaky good hands too. That's what helped him get those.
Big Arden Key guy, Bay Area baller, by the way.
And yeah, that's when I was watching the film last year, right? After, we signed him from the Raiders, and I don't even think he had a sack the year before. But I watched the tape. I watched 3 games, and he was so damn close so many times. And I noticed he's got these good hands. So that's where I projected Arden Key could have this breakout season, which it did happen. But back to Drake, he's got those great hands. And man, have you seen this dude spin move, Jason?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He's got this spin where he'll threaten the outside. And if that tackle oversteps, whoop, he's spinning back inside, and he's got good position. So he's got the spin move. He's got really good pass rushing moves, and that's what excites me. That's why I like this Drake Jackson pick.
Yeah, the Drake Jackson pick is very exciting. He had a first-round grade early on, right? And as you go through the draft process and you realize team needs and stuff, he kind of slid. I was very surprised that he was there at 61. I really believe he's a finesse guy as well, too. He can win inside and outside. What I would like to see him improve on is what you were talking about, those power moves, like how Nick Bosa's got everything in the bag. He can beat you every single way. That's going to come, though. That is definitely going to come, especially when he starts working with Chris Kocurek. Right now, he feels like a pass rush specialist. He's just got to get better in everything else in terms of power moves and being able to stop the run, to be an every down guy. But at this pick at 61, I think it's perfect. I loved what you were talking about, the spin move. He just wins a little bit more finesse-wise at this point. But that doesn't mean that he can't develop that. And I really believe that the 49ers, as they did with Arden Key, as they did with Jordan Willis, or many guys, is bet on their traits and get the most out of it with Chris Kocurek. But this guy has such high upside that he can continue to be. Imagine having a guy that could be on the field as much as Nick Bosa, threaten the quarterback, and be so good in the run game because, Nick Bosa had how many tackles for loss. That's where I think you don't want to put that high expectation on him. But if he works that out, I think I totally see the vision with Drake Jackson. I absolutely love that pick. And at 61, it feels like a steal and insane value. But talk to me about what you think about Danny Gray.
Yeah, Danny Gray. I'm super excited about Danny Gray. When I was evaluating, wide receiver was a position that I spent a lot of time on scouting. And at first I was going off PFF's rankings, right? That's just how I kind of went down watching the film. And when I got to Danny Gray, the film just popped off the screen. And I put a star by his name and drew an arrow up because this guy did not belong way down on PFF's list. I liked him way more. I was way higher on Danny Gray than PFF was. But he's just so explosive. And not only he's got the long speed, and yes, he's going to be a deep threat, but this guy's doing some yak stuff. It's like we got a new yak bro because he can catch it and he's cutting up field instantly. He's a quick decision maker after the catch, and I think he's really good after the catch. So I'm really excited about this Danny Gray pick. It was the type of receiver I felt like the 49ers needed because, Ayuk can stretch the field, but he's also really good over the middle and, running the short and intermediate routes. And Debo, and I feel like here's the thing with Debo. We didn't see Debo go deep a ton. I think he can go deep as well.
Yep.
So I'm anticipating Debo getting some more deep targets as well. Really, with Jimmy didn't throw the ball deep. Jimmy doesn't like taking shots down the field. Now with Trey, we're going to see things open up. We got a speed demon, Danny Gray, to help open things up. I'm so excited about what this offense is going to look like. Jason, thanks for taking my call. Love chatting with you. I'll hear your final thoughts, and then I'll get out of here.
Yeah, so with Danny Gray, man, I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. The 49ers haven't had a guy that can take the top off of defenses since Marquise Goodwin. Let's just be frank in terms of that type of speed.
Sorry, Travis Benjamin didn't cut it. Travis Benjamin ain't cutting it.
And that's what gets me mad about people that are saying, "Oh, well, I don't want to bring in Julio Jones," but you were okay running Travis Benjamin out there for having Trey Lance throw the ball to him on his first drive or whatever. No. But at the same time, Danny Gray is somebody who can lighten boxes with threatening you down the field. But I think you're absolutely right when you're talking about the yak stuff. I thought he was great with the ball in his hands, and clearly Kyle identified that. The only thing that the profile. The only thing he needs to improve on is just the drops. Unfortunately, Debo drops the ball, Kittle drops the ball. That happens. But when you make plays at times, what you do when you catch the ball is something that I'm looking at. That can be ironed out. Get in front of the jugs machine. You should be good. I'm very excited about him as well too. I think right now he slots in situationally for if it's a third and short, probably be Juwan Jennings, maybe in the red zone, Juwan Jennings. But if you're looking to stretch the field, maybe clear things out for Ayuk or Debo to run a drift route, then I love this Danny Gray pick. There's so much potential. And again, it's shifting from Jimmy Garoppolo to Trey Lance when you look at this draft, especially when you're talking about Danny Gray. Now, not that Jimmy couldn't work with Danny Gray because he can throw him to one of those slants and he'll take it. But the deep ball, that's something that this offense hasn't had in a long, long time. The last guy who could really throw the deep ball, guys, cover your ears, CJ Beathard at this point, right? Like, he was the only one who would actually throw the ball down the field, right? Like, consistently. So this is something that they're trying to unlock. They're trying to play to Trey's strengths, and I think Gray works. Trey and Gray, that kind of rhymes. So, I mean, it should just, like, blend in perfectly just based on name basis, right?
Hey, the Trey to Gray connection is going to be thriving. I'm pumped up. Hey, Jason, thanks for having me on. Can't wait to talk to you next time.
Eric, always a pleasure, bro. You're always invited, man. We got to bring you on the channel just so you and I could chop it up. So we'll talk about that as well, too, bro. Your knowledge is vast. I love chopping it up with you, man, and I appreciate you tapping in with me, bro.
Hey, thank you. Catch you next time.
Yes, sir. All right, so I'll take a few more. It's already it's 1:05. Shout out to everybody that's in here. Shout out to Barry Baller. Shout out to Bryant for calling in. Shout out for everybody who's watching. This has been a great show. It's been a lot of fun to chop it up with you guys. You guys been clowning me for my Cookie Monster shirt. That's all right. We're all good too. TC49 and Jason, how will Jason Verrett impact this team? I love this signing. A lot of people complain about, oh, you're going back to the well with another injured player. But for me, the upside is too great. What we saw in 2020 was a guy who was not just good, locked down. And now there's a world where Charvarius Ward, who I posted something from Next Gen Stats, only 4 other corners or defensive backs overall have allowed less in terms of completion percentage than Charvarius Ward. Number 5, funny enough, was Ahkello Witherspoon, by the way, which I don't know how you guys feel about that. But when you look at Ward on the outside, if Jason Verrett can be what Jason Verrett was in 2020, and then you're talking about kicking Emmanuel Moseley inside, who was the best cornerback on this team, hands down last year. This is the deepest room that the 49ers have had during the Shanahan-Lynch era. And again, you're about to marry pass rush with coverage for the first time. And you already were a top 5 defense, and you were running Ambry Thomas out there. Emmanuel Moseley got injured. Josh Norman played a bunch of games. Imagine what you're looking at down the line. Now, I understand the downside. Jason Verrett's not the same guy. Maybe he gets injured again. He cost 0. That's not an exaggeration. 0 on the salary cap. He's making less than $1 million. So if you get to training camp and you find out that he doesn't have it, unfortunately, which, knock on wood, I hope that's not true, because I am rooting for that guy. I think a lot of people discount how mentally tough you need to be to come back from injury after injury, and he is that. That's why you saw him so distraught in week 1 when he walked off the field. But if you are able to, let's say he comes back and he's not, then you just move on. And then you roll with Ward and Moseley, and then you got to figure out what you do. Does Womack start at nickel? Is it Tariq Castro Fields, who I believe profiles more as a safety than he does an actual nickel? So for me, this is the first time the 49ers have this deep room in terms of cornerback. And it's very exciting, especially if Drake Jackson becomes what we think he is. This defensive line rotation, Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, Javon Kinlaw comes back from his injury. I think it's an exciting time. This defense has a chance, even with the losses. And I love Tart. I do. And whoever's going to be starting, it seems like it's going to be between Odom, Hufanga, and Tarvarius Moore. This defense has a chance to be better than it was last year. And that's not hyperbole, and that's not me jumping out of the window on May 6th. Maybe it is me jumping out the window on May 6th because I'm a little excited, but I am rooting for Jason Verrett. I see the vision, especially when you talk about the money that it costs and the upside. I think that it was a no-brainer to bring him back. So, yeah, let's see what we got here. King619, Curtis Third, Jason, my boy, keep doing a good job, bro. I met you at a football game and took a picture with you, bro. We was lit. Chargers. Oh, that's right. My guy who was wearing the Lance jersey last time. Hey, shout out to you, bro. I didn't forget. I actually have that. I had to delete all my pictures out of my phone because when I travel, when you get on the airplane, you have to download your music from your streaming site. So when I do that, it always tells me I can't download certain albums and stuff. So I had to get through them. But I have that picture. I remember exactly who you are, bro. That was a lit ass time in SoFi. Shout out to you, bro, man. I remember that. Maybe we'll chop it up at a game soon too, man. Hopefully. We've kind of found out that the 49ers are going to be having joint practices maybe with the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. If that happens, I've got to get out there because I've got to watch Justin Jefferson against these cornerbacks. But shout out to you, bro. I absolutely remember exactly who you are, man. And it was a pleasure meeting you, man. That was a lot of fun, bro. Shout out to you, and thank you for tapping in as well, too. So, yeah, let's see. Emiliano. I actually thought Spoon was improving a bit before the Niners got rid of him. So eventually showing up and was Pittsburgh is a bit unexpected, but not surprising. Yeah. I think that a little bit of what happened with him is a little bit what people criticize McGlinchey for is McGlinchey will have 71 snaps that are great or fine in pass pro, and they'll have that one in a clutch moment or something like that everybody magnifies. And I think that's kind of what happened with Spoon. I mean, if you remember at the end of the year, Spoon had to play against Arizona and Seattle in 2020, and he was locked down. It's not shocking that Pittsburgh was able to get that. Also, don't discount coaching. Mike Tomlin putting his arm around him and giving him encouraging words might not be the same style that Shanahan has, but the talent was always there. It was always just what's going on up here, and sometimes the bad times would send him spiraling. But I'm actually very happy for him, man. I really am. I'm happy that he's balling because I always knew that was in there. It's a shame it didn't happen with us, but I am happy for him, and I agree with you wholeheartedly that it was always in there, and they had to find a way to get that in there. So, Not by nature. Thank you, Debo, that like button. All right, an hour 10, guys. Appreciate you guys for tapping in. Look, we had 2 callers. I would have liked to have more. We have more members of the Spicy Squad. I'm not sure. You guys are busy and everything. If you guys have a time that would be better for you guys, for me to set up these call shows, I definitely will do that. I would love to talk with you guys. I have the most knowledgeable, fun, nice fan base, viewers. All of you guys have great takes. All of you guys have great opinions, and I would love to hear from you guys face to face. We can talk about whatever it is that you want. So if you guys have a time that you would prefer, whatever works for you guys, it is Friday. So if you guys are out there having fun, I completely understand that because it is Friday, but I decided to do it today just to fill some content. So let me know what day you feel is best. We will set it up for you guys. Shout out to the Spicy Squad. Shout out to everybody that's in here who liked this video, subscribes to the channel, and has those notification bells on. Let's go Niners. Appreciate all of you guys. We will be talking, and we'll have a bunch of content for you this week. Enjoy your weekend, and as always, let's go Niners. Welcome, everybody. Let's go Niners. My name is Jason Aponte.